And is it actually recording? Yes. Okay, good. All right. So welcome everyone. This is our, oh, what month is it? It's March. This is our March 2024 local phenology leader monthly call. My name is Samantha Brewer. I'm the volunteer engagement coordinator with the USA National Phenology Network. And I'll have you two introduce yourselves. Go ahead and start with Justin.
My name's Justin. I live in Southern West Virginia. I'm the director of the Mavis Institute. It's a sustainable homesteading education center, and I took what is it called, this phrenology leadership,
The local
something like,
phenology leader
yes, yes,
certification
yes,
course.
yes. I took that. I believe last year, I think it was, or so. Yeah, last year or so. So, and then it's just something I love doing. And so that's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, Amanda Wanless. I am the executive director of Indiana Phenology. We are really focused on plants in Indiana. I work with school groups, partner sites, and individuals to just get them collecting phenology data. And I did the local phenology leader certification program, I think in 2017, and it was very useful.
Oh, that's great. It's funny too, because I actually I took the course in I think it was 2020 when I took the course. And the program that I started is actually still going. I went to the zoo just a couple weeks ago and they had a bunch of monarch caterpillars and we got to collect nature's notebook data. And that was really fun to like see that still going. And Sarah's joining us too and having some breakfast. We just did, yeah, it's okay. We just did introductions, but I'm not gonna like do that to you in the middle of your things. So I'll awkwardly just like talk for a bit until it looks like you're ready to introduce yourself. I'm actually really glad that you're here too, because I know you've emailed a lot about getting your program set up and you've kind of got a couple different things going, which is really cool. So it's actually really nice to see you in person and be able to like make sure that that's going well and be able to answer any of the questions that you have for that. So I'm really happy you're here.
Thank you for all your help with that, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. I'm sorry I was slow on it, but I'm glad we're still
not at all
that forward direction.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. But go ahead and introduce yourself, Sarah.
Oh, sure. My name is Sarah Quisenberry Wallace. I am a little library person at Noble Public Library in Oklahoma. We are launching our local phenology program for the first time this year. I got certified in the program last fall, and it's been going well. The reason I was a little late is we're setting up for the watercolor Phenology Friday program. That will be at 2. And yeah, it's going well. We're picking up folks, getting people signed up. I think we have 4 people right now, which I'm happy about this early on. But yeah, so we have weekly Friday programs promoting a local phenology program, both monitoring time to restore focus species in a learning garden here on site, and also a personal site network program where folks can take seeds, plant them on their own spot, and record them at their house. So
that's so freaking cool that you're giving them seeds to record too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. we have a seed library here, so it goes really well with that.
That's so freaking cool.
Thank
you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Jan, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, my name is Jan Galkowski, and I'm in Westwood, Massachusetts, and I've been mostly doing for the past couple of years. I've been doing mostly stuff about mosses in streams, and so forth, and taking photographs of them over a long period of time. I have a lot of photographs of mosses about how they change during the year. Unfortunately, I had an accident in 2021 where I fell down some stairs and I was in the hospital for a time. So I had to stop that. and I'm getting back now. So I got some advice from the people who do mosses professionally, and bryologists and stuff. I have a new camera and things and a tripod. So I'm setting up to do that, but I'm not going by the streams yet. I'm not ready for that. I'm looking at mosses around the house. We have mostly polytrichum around the house that are interesting. Not a lot is known about polytrichum, I get apparently in the phenology end, and we also have a couple of red buds. So that's a new thing for us, and for me, I've already gotten out with the camera on the redbud trees, and I'm trying to see where I can get good pictures of the redbuds, and so that's where I'm at. I don't have any other people. I've tried to interest some people into looking at mosses with me, but it's a little bit hard. So I bought people hand lenses and stuff like that in a couple of books. And so there's a new book by Sue Williams that's actually quite good. I took a course at Eagle Hill in Maine, where somebody was talking about professor was from Duke, and he was talking about sphagnum. But she was an attendee at the course, and it's a really good book. And so I'm hoping that'll get us forward. A lot of great line drawings. So anyway, so that's where I am. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and hoping I once I get started now getting back on. I hope I enter my observations and stuff more regularly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Sorry, I mispronounced your name earlier, but I will throw it
Yes.
out there. He makes awesome moss pictures, and every once in a while, my email is graced with some of his moss pictures, and it's always a treat. Like we don't have the lichens in the mosses, not lichens, the like the liverworts. That's what I mean, liverworts and mosses and things like that. We don't have them on Nature's Notebook, but I think it's still cool that you're monitoring their phenology and promoting interest in them, because they are really interesting. They're interesting things. So thank you.
Yeah. So let me just run over here and get this book and show it all to you.
Yes, please do.
So this is relatively new, and like I said, Sue Williams was in this course that I was taking. So there it is, and it's pretty well done. This author started this book because she wanted a book that her 8-year-old daughter could use in helping her with mouses. So that's where it started in hand drawing. So it's pretty good. Lots of, when I say hand drawing, that's what you got. Kind of thing.
And I think Justin had something to add. Yeah.
Can you spin it around so I can see the back of it? I just need to see the QR code on the back for just a second.
Sure. Happy to. Okay. Is that right?
Yep. Thank you. Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
I'll see too if after this, hopefully my poor little brain remembers it, but I'll see if I can find a link to the book too, and I can put it in the descriptions.
That's fine. Great thing. Yeah, it's available on Amazon and all that kind of places. I use Bookshop, I think, to buy it. But anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you take pictures of the mosses, you have to get used to your cameras and stuff. And so and there's a guy by the name of Des Callahan who's a PhD bryologist, but also he takes professional pictures in England. And I went out. There's this bryology listserv available. So I asked people for recommendations, and so he actually made concrete recommendations of cameras and tripods and things to use for this in terms of this. So the people are very willing to help. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Honestly, I really appreciate that conversation, because with these monthly calls, usually we have a topic, and then you guys kind of listen to me talk for an hour, and I don't even like to listen to me talk for an hour. So I like it better when if y'all just talked about mosses for an hour, I would still be really happy about that, honestly.
Yeah. Mosses are pretty interesting. There's another book about mosses and the effect of climate on them. It's by Tuba and Stalker and Nancy Slack. I think I can get that at some point, but yeah, that's pretty interesting because they've been around for almost half a billion years in one form or another, and so they're kind of hardy, and so it's interesting to look at the effect of desiccation and stuff on them. Because they're not, vascular plants and things. So
Yeah. One of my favorite things about mosses is just in the fact that tardigrades live in them. And I like to imagine,
yes,
because tardigrades are
right,
water bears. And so I like to
right.
just imagine them being like these tiny forests with little bears running around in them.
It's
In their
true.
tiny world.
There are all kinds of tardigrades and micros and all kinds of things that live inside mosses, and it's interesting. So this class at Eagle Hill that I took, the professor that was Jonathan Shaw, he's from Duke University, and he was talking about how they're doing genetic sequencing of mosses around Duke. And so for mosses, there are three places to get sequences. They're the nuclear sequences in the cell. There are chloroplasts, which have their own DNA in them, and then there are mitochondria, which are the third one, and they sequence all these things to try to figure out better classifications and all this kind of stuff.
So cool. I love it.
I'll add something interesting I like about one of my favorite things about mosses is they're at least for the world that I live in, they're very if once you identify them properly, they're a very good survivalist edible food source, if you know what you're talking about. And they're actually a lot tastier. It's an acquired taste, of course, but they're actually a lot tastier than you actually might think they would be. So
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. I've never heard of mosses being eaten, but it's an interesting thought. Thank
And
you.
actually, I have a question about that. Then, if you're like out, like let's say you're out in the woods, and let's say you're not, obviously it's different if you're in desperate survival situation versus I am enjoying being in the woods, and maybe or maybe okay, I don't like the thought of just like harvesting moss, but let's say I have a rock and I just want to grow moss on my rock in my yard, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure you could eat the moss directly, but are there actual like moss recipes then?
Yes, yeah. So in Iceland and in the colder regions of North America, there's actually lots of different recipes to. Sometimes you can eat especially mosses and lichens. Let's add lichens to the mix because lichens are really easy to find and eat. Yeah, there's actually lots of recipes. Because like during winter months, you would actually mix it in with breads. You put it with porridge. You'd mix it in with soups to do some flavoring. And certain mosses are really high in certain types of vitamins that we're lacking. And as someone who wildcrafts on a regular basis, like coming across an edible moss that I know how to identify and being able to see when there's a lot of it, so I can just take a little bit and not worry so much about it. Especially if it's in one of those places that I know a lot of people are going to ultimately kick over that rock and that's just going to get scraped off anyways. I might as well use it if it's going to go to waste. And so, yeah, that's edible stuff like that is interesting. And moss is one of my favorites that when I find some of them, they're just a cool thing.
Okay,
So
so then I have a related question then. So like my mom lives in Seattle and moss like just grows on her driveway, right? Okay, so I'm like ethically great. Mom's moss driveway. And it's whatever is the common driveway moss in Seattle. I know that's not a real thing. Are those common mosses though that grow in driveways like often the edible mosses, or would I want to be more careful before just eating moss off my lawn?
So I don't actually know of any toxic mosses that actually exist. There might be one, like it's probably more of a lichen that's going to be a toxic than it is going to be a typical moss. I have to look into it. Again, you remember, you're talking about like everything west of the Mississippi is weird, and I don't know what you guys do over there. You guys change everything. So like I know everything east of the Mississippi where like real plants grow and food is available. So I will look into that and I will send you I'll actually if you zip me a message on Discord at some point with a picture, I'll actually identify that for you and let you know what I think, if I think it's edible or not. So
I'm gonna text my mom. She's in Hawaii right now, but I'm gonna text her and I'm gonna follow up on that because she makes sourdough bread all the time, and if she's
okay.
able to put moss in it, I think she'll lose her mind with joy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to break into discussion about edible, but just to get ideas on the Western United States. One outfit that I found that was very helpful in anything is if you can reach out to the herbarium, the Jepson Herbarium at UC Berkeley. They're very knowledgeable about mosses. They grow a bunch of them in greenhouses and that kind of stuff. So that would be a place where I would check for questions about mosses, particularly in the Western United States. They do a survey of California mosses in inland and other things, other plants as well.
God. I wanna let Sarah and Amanda. You gotta give us your favorite moss thing. It doesn't even have to be about fact, but just something. What's your favorite moss thing? I saw you put some stuff in the chat too. I haven't read the chat yet.
So I'm actually reading a book right now about mosses, Gathering Moss, A Natural and Cultural History of Mosses, but I do not know my mosses very well. The book is awesome, but when I was doing a survey of one of our local forests, I was able to identify most of everything but the mosses and the sedges. Those are not my areas of expertise. That looks like an awesome book right there.
Yes,
I need
that's
that
by Ralph Pope. It's very good. A lot of pictures and a lot of good keys.
Mhm. That's what you need. Who's the author on that particular?
Ralph Pope.
Okay.
There you go.
Ralph Pope. Okay.
Okay. I
Look
don't know
at
if you want
that.
that thing too. There you go.
Got it.
So next, we're gonna have to schedule the monthly Moss Book Club.
Anything plants, anything
Yeah,
nature related, you've got me.
yeah. Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, anything moss related. I have a fascination with moss, but I haven't gotten to the point where I can identify anything yet. And moss is a little hard to come by where I'm at.
Where are you
Where we're in we're in central Oklahoma, kind of where the cross timbers meet Savannah. So I'd have to go. There's some forested areas I could go and find some, but it's it's kind of I have to go get it. And I do have a microscope, so I could, kind of get further into it. I was thinking for a while that to identify a lot of them, you kind of have to put them under a microscope. Is that true?
Oh, they're very small.
Mm-hmm.
So there are features that you have to look at with them. So a
Right.
hand lens is definitely a good idea.
Okay, you could even
A
do a
number
lot
of
with
them,
that.
yeah, a number of them are microscope um, specimens where you have to look at them and certainly to see
Okay.
structures in them. You do. The other thing I don't know about your area locally, but the other thing I
Sure.
would check out, you must have some kind of streams, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have, I
Few
know.
and far between. Few and far
Well,
between.
occasionally there have to be streams that get wet once in a while, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is I would use that time right after a rain and go
Mm-hmm.
crawling down this stream, look and turn over some rocks and stuff, and
Okay.
because the mosses will take advantage of water and
Right.
just like they do with sunlight, very quickly after there's some water, but they grow very fast and they'll take advantage of that there. So that's what I would suggest. I mean, you probably may not be able to tell the difference between them and algae, but they're hardier than algae, so they're
Sure.
likely to pop up more.
Mm-hmm.
So
A little bit
that's
more
what I would do.
planty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They've had a chance to innovate
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more.
I do remember from Gathering Moss. I haven't read it in a while, but it was my favorite book for a long time. And one of the things that fascinated me was how she talked about like mosses that are kept dry in a cabinet for like 30 or 40 years could still come
Right.
back to life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, so yeah, so the one of the things that the Professor Shaw at Duke was saying in the course was that many mosses that now that they can do DNA sequencing, many mosses in Europe and stuff have are believed to have been the spores are believed to have been transported by winds across the Atlantic. So
Oh,
so
wow.
so a lot of the mosses that you find in Ireland and stuff like that actually came from South America.
Oh,
And
how about that?
yeah, blown that difference, and also the vice versa. There are mosses that go the other way too, and so um, that's a fascinating thing to find out how the mosses have been around in terms of.
So
And like I said, they're very, very old.
does anyone know then if there's ever like a non-native or invasive moss issue anywhere? Is it one of those like things that no one ever hears about, like earthworms, right? Those fishing earthworms. Like there's some places where there's a bad problem because certain species of earthworms were introduced, causing problems. Like,
Yeah.
are there any invasive
Well,
mosses that cause issues?
I don't think that you'll ever find invasive mosses. Mosses, by definition, are invasive.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
in that sort of, even if you have a monoculture like sphagnum in a pond, you'll find mosses that'll grow among the sphagnum themselves and grow around them. So, like Climatium americanum will grow around sphagnum a lot. And so forth. So I don't think they're not vascular plants, so they don't have seeds, and they reproduce by spores and also just vegetative reproduction too. So
Are there any that are like damaging to their surroundings?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No. I mean, they'll grow. I mean, there are homeowners that don't like mosses on their roofs,
sure.
and that they have a lot of homeowners will remove mosses because they think the roofs are going to be harmed. And
Mhm.
if you talk to an expert like Janice Gleim or something, she thinks that's silly. Matter of fact, she goes when she hears that someone's going to be taking out mosses, she'll go and rescue them
Oh,
because she thinks that's over the top. That's really not needed. They
right.
really about the only thing that can happen with mosses that I understand, mosses and roofs, is if they're there for a long time, they can collect dirt, and then you get vascular plants growing, and those can
Yeah,
damage.
right. Because they have
You
the
know,
roots.
but the mosses themselves don't have a root system.
Right.
So
So
I
what
saw
I
your link. Yeah, I want to know more about this
Oh,
oak moss
okay.
too.
So first I want to mention something about the roof thing. So in the green building concept, especially if you live in a very wet region like where I do, mosses are one of the things that you actually seed into your living roof because they
yay.
actually do an awesome job of filling in the cracks and actually stopping water from penetrating. So
Wow.
mosses are something I use a lot when we work on trying to talk about building green roofs. But I actually put a link if you guys visit the link, the iNaturalist link. That is the one moss that I do know that if you're like me and you're just going to eat everything that's in the woods, you might want to be careful chewing on a lot of that. You actually can make a tea of that. And if you double boil it and you prepare it properly, you actually can eat oak moss, but oak moss is one of the one that's known. What it does is it's really acidic. Yeah. It's really acidic. So what it can do is it can really screw up your gut biome. And so with your gut biome, then that can lead to having kidney damage and other things because once you screw up your gut biome. But it is actually a moss that used to be used, especially in these particular parts here in Appalachia. It used to be used as a type of medicine for when the natives and the early colonists came here, and when they're interacting, it was a type of medicine that they worked together to use. So, but it is one of the ones that is easily identified. If you see an oak tree and you see that thing that kind of looks like that, probably don't eat it. I will also tell you when you put it in your mouth and you eat that, it's one of those that children aren't going to naturally eat that because it doesn't taste very nice. So I have eaten it. I can tell you what it tastes like. It doesn't taste very nice, but just I wanted to make sure I mentioned about eating it, and I wanted to see asking about toxic, I at least wanted to include one toxic that I knew that existed.
Yeah. I can safely say that if I saw that in the woods, I would not want to eat it. So that's good too.
I don't know if there's anything in the woods that I saw that I wouldn't want to know what it tastes like. So that's the issue that I have. So
Do you know anything about what the binary name for that is? Like what the genus and species?
For the oak
it
moss?
the oak moss, here, I will include it into the, when it comes to scientific names, I joke that I can't even speak English, so let alone trying to speak Latin.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that most
no,
of the keys and stuff are organized that way.
yeah, Evernelia pruna strata, pruna strata. See, look at that awesome, spectacular Latin,
I would
demolishing.
pronounce that Avernia I tried. Avernia. I feel good about Avernia. Avernia prunastri. I'm so glad this is recorded so that if any moss person offends upon it. Oh my
Yeah, you can blame me. You can just blame me. It's my fault.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. I will take that, and I will get back to you all if I find anything more about it.
Yeah, thank
Thank-
you. All right. The other thing I really did want to make sure I got mentioned to here into the call is that next week we're doing the phenology week. I'm going to put the link in the chat for this too, because we do have a lot of talks going on next week. We have webinars with Teresa Crimmins, our director. I'm doing a webinar of how to use Nature's Notebook. So if any of your volunteers are curious about just like using Nature's Notebook in general, and this is a very like, I mean, you know, we have this whole certification course and everything like that, but it's just a very general, here's how you can use Nature's Notebook. Here's what phenology is for anyone who's curious about it. We are also doing a watercolor one that Erin has set up for doing a watercolor like phenology wheel for people who are interested in that. We have a Quercus Quest webinar with some of the researchers who do Quercus Quest. And then we're gonna have some local phenology leaders come to and talk about their local phenology programs. The other thing that we have on that link is we do have some social media posts. If you're like, you know, this is cool, but I don't have time to make anything, you guys can copy and paste the graphics. And what we tried to do was kind of make it fun for people to get to know a plant throughout Phenology Week and learn about it and see how it changes. Because one of my favorite things about when I started with Nature's Notebook was because I was not particularly fond or interested in anything about plants when I first started. I started with like doing pollinators and birds and things. And then I was like, oh, wait, now that I have to look at a plant all the time, it's actually really cool. And I really like it. So I kind of try to encourage that. So we kind of have an activity where daily, you know, people can identify a plant near them, right? And it doesn't have, it could be a cultivated one, it could be, you know, an ornamental one, whatever it is, just get to know a plant. And so we have little daily activities for people to get to know their plant. And also like, did your plant change this week, you know, as the week progressed? So you guys can copy paste those if you want to, but you can also do whatever variations. We're not like, you have to do it this way, but it's just fun ideas for engagement. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. And then the other thing I did want to talk about today is we do those annual surveys, which we completed. And so we like to just share the survey or the survey results with you guys. I think Erin actually made a better graphic. I kind of started a graphic and at least got some graphs. But we like to share our surveys, our annual surveys that we send out to our local phenology leaders. And this year we got 64 responses, which is always awesome. One thing we like from the surveys is we like to make resources and make these changes. And then we're like, okay, but what are actually people using and needing so that we know what to work on in the future? Super happy that most of our leaders, a lot of the visualization tool, and I love the visualization tool because that's how you can share with everybody like what your program is showing. With our new website, I don't know how much you guys have been able to explore it, but there is a better link now that people who are visiting your site, and I can show you guys that, can actually they can actually see your data now much more easily. So anyone who's like curious about what's happening at the library and what are we seeing at the library, they can actually pop up the library's visualization tool and be able to show that. And what's cool is because you each have your own local phenology leader profile page, you can actually make a QR code for your page to be able to share with people too if you want them to join or learn more. So I'll show you guys that too. Observation portal, that's where you can download the information. The program dashboard is where you can see what your volunteers are doing. We're actually working on updating the phenophase primer too, and we are going to be looking for people soon to just kind of like go over it before we get it in printing, ready for printing. So if anyone's interested in that, they can email me and I can forward that to Ellen. And if you're interested in just like proofreading any part of the phenophase primer, which is similar to the botany primer, but it's more about the phenophases. We want to actually use more videos. A lot of our videos are outdated. And start of spring maps, if you haven't seen those yet, those are really fun. And right now it's super fun because spring is moving through the United States. And this year it's early just about everywhere, which is just wild to me, that spring is early just about everywhere right now. Then we do satisfaction, right? So that we can see how we can improve. And so we're just happy that we're able to like help you guys out. The ease of navigating the new website, yeah, I'm sure there is a learning curve with that. We did try to make it easier for you guys, but if there's things that were, it's just like, what, this doesn't make any sense, like feedback, we might not be able to fix things right away, or it might be something we're like, yeah, that's just something we're not even possible to do. Yeah, but we any feedback we always really appreciate. We're also been, oh, that's the other thing, the app. Yes. Just so that you all know too, we have been doing updates to the app, and sometimes there was a period of time where it was like completely broken, and then we were able to fix it, but sometimes it slows. So we do have a page on our website right now for the troubleshooting if anyone is having issues with the app. In general, if you just delete it and reinstall it, it generally fixes the issues if anyone's having issues with the app. We're always updating our resources, but we were happy that there was a lot of blues and greens here. And the additional support, and this is the constant additional support that we're still working on and trying to figure out how to do, is the analyzing the data and to understand the patterns and the questions, right? And that's a thing we see often with the leaders. Is like, okay, we've been collecting data for so many years now. How can we actually do some data analysis on this and statistics? And that one's always so tricky because it just depends on your question and it depends on what we want to do. And there was a lot of things we were trying to brainstorm of like, okay, can we do learning modules? Or it's like, if this is your question, here's what you would do to answer it. But even that got super complicated really quickly, especially when it's like, I don't know, a lot of local phenology leaders, you're just getting citizen science started, right? And then I'm like, okay, and now we're going to do some advanced statistics in R. And like, I can't do basic statistics in R, right? And so we're still working on like what's something, and I know that's something that we want to work on, is developing a way to make it where it's like, if you do X, if you are able to collect data, this much data, if you input it using, just a very easy step-by-step thing that basically I told them, if we're able to explain it so that I can do it, I can explain it so other people can do it. So that is something that we are still working on, is like, how can we actually analyze the data? The annual report, I've been working on updating the annual report guide, and I really need to get that finished on this course because I will reiterate again, like the annual report is really interesting, right? Because we do say like, hey, can you guys send us your annual reports? But we're not like, hey, you guys didn't send us your annual reports. But we do share the annual reports. You can also put the annual reports up on your profile pages so that you can show like people what you guys are doing, and especially if you have funders who want to know what you guys are doing, or if your volunteers want to know what you're doing. The annual report is just, it's really nice to be able to say like, these were our goals, this is what we did, we had this many volunteers, these are the patterns that we saw with our plants. And what I really like about the annual report guide is you don't have to go through every single piece of the annual report guide. It's okay to just pick and choose like what's going to be best for your program. And it just shows you how to get those resources. So I wonder almost if I should do like some webinar, like at the end of the year this year, is do like a couple annual report webinars to walk that through with people who are questioning about that. When I first did my local phenology program, I wrote my first annual report, and I'd never written an annual report before, and our donors were super happy with it when I did it. And so that's why I get very I get very weird about, not weird about the annual report, but pushy about it, just because it's one of those things that, no, you don't have to do it, but oh man, is it nice to just have that little thing every year. In volunteer recruitment and engagement, some more resources for that I think would be really good. And I've had a few quotes on here. We had just a really nice, I like when you guys write about the things you like and the things you don't like. And one thing I always like about reviews is sometimes we get things like, I love your program. And I'm like, thank you. And some people are like, I hate your program. And I'm like, okay, but what can we improve? So whenever you guys have those specific things that are saying like, this is what we liked and why, and this is what we didn't like and why, those specific things are like the helpful things that are like, okay, great, this is what I can do. And even with my course, right? I just started the course again this week. And every year I look at your guys' course reviews and I'm like, yeah, that's legitimate. Like that was a struggle I had, and that was something that wasn't clear, so that I can, every year the course gets smoother. It's never as smooth as I want it to be, but year gets a little bit smoother because of your guys' feedback. So I always really appreciate that. As far as Phonology Week and surveys, I'll stop sharing now because you guys don't actually need it. Do you guys have any questions about any of that? Oh yes, on annual report webinars. Yeah, I think that would be the way to do it, like in November or something like that, because I think usually we did it in the monthly call. But I think if we actually promoted an actual, this is like if we had like 2 or 3 at different times, but especially one in the evening that people would be able to get to. I think that would be one of the more useful things to do it. Oh, and good, Amanda. I like that you want to. I'll send you. Amanda. You've probably emailed with Ellen before, right? I'm not sure if you have or not. Honestly, reach out to Ellen directly, and she'll get you set up with that. And it'll probably be faster than emailing me, and then I find the email and then I email Ellen.
Which one was that you're updating? Is that the phenophase one?
The phenophase one, yeah. So we've had a draft of that one up for a really long time. And we're finally getting it, like, not in a bad way. It's just that those are a lot of work. And so, but we are getting it ready to be like complete with it, so that we have like, we have like the botany, the actual printed version. Right now, the PDF for the phenophase one is up, but we've updated it significantly. And I'm really excited to get that finished because I love the botany primer.
Those are great.
And for those of you who don't know, you can go on our website and actually download your own free copy of the PDF of either of those primers. The botany one is one of, and this is like even before I worked here, it was when I took the course, I was floored by how good the botany primer was for teaching basic botany concepts. I recently did a master naturalist course. I was a guest speaker for the master naturalist course, and I used the botany primer to teach them basic botany. And that was really fun. I haven't been able to teach botany in a long time, like just straight up botany. And it was nice being able to use the primer to elaborate on those concepts, because I only had an hour to teach all of the botany. It was easier to just say, go to this page.
Yeah, I really like to use those primers. I used both of them actually in the last 2 presentations that I've done. One was for some teachers that was super helpful for them. They're getting their students involved in making observations. And then just in my basic, we're starting spring, so let's remind you how to make observations presentation. I pointed them that direction as well.
That's what you do for that presentation. What, like, tell us about the presentations that you did. That's cool.
So I have my schoolyard program, and I work with the teachers and help them to engage their students in making Nature's Notebook observations. And so this was just our quarterly session. And so I was sharing from those 2 how where you see the fruit is the same place you're going to see the flower, and why they look similar, and how understanding that can help their students. know what they're seeing and accurately report what they're seeing. And then the phenophase primer was really helpful for just a refresher that I did an hour-long presentation for long-time volunteers that haven't been observing in a couple of months because nothing happens here in Indiana in the winter. And so, yeah, I pulled some concepts from that and said, hey, you want to know more? Go look at this.
About how many teachers did you have? I'm just curious, like how many teachers you're able to bring in.
So we trained 15 teachers this year, and I really think we only have maybe 3 teachers that are actually incorporating it in their programming. But 15 learned about it.
Yeah, and honestly, I'll get people who do the course applications, and we even have a question at the end. It's like, how did you hear about their program? And they're like, I did this in college 10 years ago.
It sticks with you.
Does. Well, it's 10:45. I don't have to drag this out for an hour and like force us to have awkward conversation, and that's totally fine. But I'll stop recording here in a minute, and then if anyone did have to want to ask me questions about their program, or just any other like business related discussions or anything like that, I'll be happy to do that. Well, I don't know, should I keep it in the recording? Maybe people learn from it. I don't know. If you're all watching this, you can stop watching now. It'll be boring. And then but yeah. Oh, and also, but Justin, before you go though, these are my plants because you told me that I could do these live plants, and that
Yep.
was like a year ago. And they are
Okay.
look, they're still alive and they're still green and they've gotten bigger.
That's
And
awesome.
I've
I'm
never
proud
done
of you.
that with these plants before, and I propagated them from a clipping. So I learned that from you. So I just wanted to
Very
give
proud of you.
a
That's
shout out.
awesome.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for that
No.
validation. I really needed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, no, they look really good. Yeah, no, you did awesome.
Thank you. I still have
No,
to have the fake ones. They're not filled out enough, but
that's okay. That's okay.
they'll
It's a
get
good
better.
combination. It's a good balance. It's a good balance. It gives you what it does is it reinforces you at some particular point. Your plant will actually look like that because of how good you're taking care of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, actually, my question was for everyone because I've only lived in Ohio and West Virginia, and I'm kind of curious what other people use to like what they personally use to know that spring is coming. And so that's actually, I just have a question for everybody else in here because I'm kind of interested. So what I use here in West Virginia is I use a red-winged blackbird. When I see the red-winged blackbird, I know that spring is on the way. So I'm kind of interested in what other people have to say.
Here in Indiana, and also when I lived in Utah, it was daffodils and crocuses. When those started popping up, those are not native to either of those places, but those are a consistent reminder here. It's oh goodness, the spice bush that's blooming right now. It's really pretty. Harbinger of spring is another one that pops up. So probably some similar ones to what you've got there.
In my case, my wife Claire starts ordering seeds.
I like that it's your wife's behavior.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one. Yeah.
Mine here in Tucson, I'm sure it's not like the actual spring thing, but just me personally, I know like spring's here when I start seeing reptiles more often. Because they all start waking up. I'm sure there's another flower one, but I always just get real excited when I start seeing lizards. And then on Reddit, I start seeing posts at people asking what snake they're seeing and if it's a safe one.
I just recently started paying attention to stuff like this, maybe a few years ago. I would also say daffodils around here. But this year I noticed first a bunch of crane flies like all over. So I wonder, I'm gonna keep an eye on that in future years and see if that, continues to be a thing. But
Actually, I'm just gonna throw it out there. We're having a crazy crane fly year, and I only know it because of the cats.
They've let you
because
know.
it's the time of year where I can have all the windows open, and
Uh-huh.
I have never had crane flies get in like they have this year. And it's been great for the cats. It has not been great for the stuff on my shelves. But yeah, that's interesting that you said that because this year's weird for us too with crane flies.
How about that?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to watch my insect population here, because that is interesting that you guys mentioned that. So I'd be interested to see if I have if I notice any flies or any. The one other thing I use is spring peepers, but that's just in my back of my head is yeah.
Are
So
those the
no, that's cool.
frogs?
Yes, they're little frogs that what's really cool is if you're near where one of their ponds are when they're peeping, what I love about spring peepers is it can get so loud that you could be standing next to another person yelling at them and you can't hear that other person over how loud the
Wow.
chorus of the frogs get.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
we're next to some wetlands, and we have spring peepers too.
They're loud.
They're
right now.
very loud
Yes.
in our wetlands.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites. I actually like they're really fun. They're really fun to catch as well. Because if they get used to you or you're someone that knows how to hold frogs and such, you can actually get them to make their chorus while you're holding them. Like just by like chilling out, having your hand wet enough and that kind of stuff and standing really still. It's patience. It's like maybe sitting there for 10, 15 minutes in the evening holding one of them and they're comfortable enough standing on you, but then you can watch them do their thing and it's really fun.
Wow.
Oh,
What a
that,
gift.
that sounds magical. Yeah. I don't know if we have spring peepers. We get the spadefoot toads in the summer with the monsoons because they bury themselves in the desert and they get all, they do whatever it is they do. But for most of the year, they just bury themselves. And then when the monsoons come, they just like start popping up out of the ground.
That's
And
cool.
yelling. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And they're spadefoot toads because yeah, they have little spades
Mhm.
and they just dig themselves under. And then in monsoons, it really is just frogs start appearing in the desert.
Yeah, the American toad hasn't for me yet hasn't emerged yet, but I'm I'm expecting it now that I've seen the red-winged blackbirds, I hear the spring peepers. I'm waiting for the chorus of the American toad probably within the next probably week or so. And then from that, once the American toad, then they start cascading. Then I start getting the American bullfrog. I'll start getting the leopard frog. I'll start getting the green frogs, and then I'll start getting some. Then I'll start hearing the calls of the tree frogs. So it's kind of cool. So from this point forward, like my nights are no longer going to be quiet. So from like December till the end of February, where I live, if I go outside at night, it's just pitch quiet. There's no buzz, there's no animals, there's just nothing. It's so weird here. It's just pitch quiet. And then it cascades up into sometimes some nights at my house it's if I leave my windows open it's loud.
Down in southeast Arizona, when the whippoorwills are going, they're a nocturnal bird. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing field work down there once, and there was a whippoorwill that was right under our window, and all night, all freaking night for that thing. But I was like, okay, it's worth it though. It sounds so cool.
Yeah, no, that's one thing that I think is really fun, and I'm glad that it's included in the phonology is being able to put the sounds because there's a lot of times, like in the evenings when I decide to go for walks and such around the property, I'll hear things, and I'll have to use some of the audio apps because every once in a while there's some insects that make some noises that I just don't know what they are. But then I can look up to see if those happen to be on the phonology, and if I hear something for the first time or something, I'll enter it into the one that on where I live. But I really like I like hearing the diverse sounds. Being that I grew up in the inner city, so like when I grew up in the inner city, there was my sounds were horns and people yelling. And now that I live in Appalachia, in the middle of nowhere, my sounds have changed over to like so many, like there's so many different animals and insects and sounds. The one thing I'm very excited about this year is I am in the zone. I'm in one of the cicada zones. So, and I'm very excited about that. I'm going to tell everyone what I'm going to do, but you guys can be not happy about this if you want. But I'm going to be going around the year and I'm going to start collecting. I read of someone doing this before, and I have 33 acres here and I have a diverse forest setting. I'm actually going to start going around and collecting the different broods and actually put them by different trees so that I can get to the point of having every brood here on my property. Because because the thing is made me sad is I found out there's two broods that are extinct because of a variety of different things, and uh, I don't I can't see how that would be harmful if I would collect some, especially in areas where they're going to cut down the tree in a year or so and it's going to turn into an allotment and they're going to dig up the soil and that brood's going to be gone regardless. So that's just something I'm going to try to do.
That's cool. I saw that on the news a lot about like it's a double brood major cicada crazy. Have they already emerged or did they already?
No, they won't. I won't see those until in the areas that I'm used to seeing. We won't see that those cicadas until probably late June, early August, maybe even pushing back or pushing forward a little bit depending on the weather, the climate and the weather in those particular regions. So
Okay. But is it really? Okay, so this is from like Arizona and we get like cicadas every year and it's not like I've seen videos where the ground is just a layer of carpet of cicadas. Is it really like that?
it's awesome. If you are around a good brood, if you are around a good brood and a good emergence, not only is it deafening and you can also hear them crawling a little bit, but it's just the shells, the little shells are everywhere. And I've eaten cicada. I don't really like them, but people eat them as well. And that kind of stuff. So it's just this whole awesome experience. If you've ever, I would say that if you have the opportunity to be around a brood when they're one of the major broods and you're in a spot where they're hatching and you can experience that, you really should. It's a cool event.
I love it.
Also, I think Amanda is the only one in the line this year, but remember a month from last week is the eclipse. I'm actually going up to my hometown in Ohio because Akron, Ohio is right smack in the middle of totality, and I want to experience that. I experienced the last one down here and saw what my animals did here in West Virginia, and we were at like 80% when that happened. That was interesting. So this time I'm going to go up there and do a lot of really, I'm kind of want to go up there and I'm purposely going into the woods in a field because I actually want to observe what the animals are also going to be doing during that, because I think where I'm going to be is going to be 3 minutes and like 40 seconds. We're going to have the blackout. So I'm very interested to see how I feel and what the animals in nature around me are also going to be doing.
I like that a lot. Well, thank you, Justin. That's awesome. It is now actually 11 o'clock, so I'm able to close things out. But once again, Amanda or Sarah, I know like we had some questions. So if one of you is on like a more time crunch, like just let me know and we'll chat about what we need to chat about. But I do want to make sure that I get you guys taken care of today. But yeah, thank you all for joining. That was fun. Yep, I love this. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. Yeah,
It was
thank
a
you.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good to
Thank
be
you for all the
here.
links.
Yes, I'm gonna
No
post all
problem.
those when I post this, so that
Yeah.
everyone can enjoy them.
Great. And I will look up Ivernia prunastri when I can.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh,
Oh.
I'll stop recording.